Hello, my name's Ted, and this is the Issues of Life. And today we're going to talk about being born again. And I know that there's that has become over the years uh, just a kind of a lost religious term. And so I think it's important, it is really important to understand what that really means. And so we're going to go to John in chapter 3 of John. And here's what it says. Now there was a certain man among the Pharisees named Nicodemus, a ruler, a member of the Sanhedrin among the Jews, who came to Jesus at night and said to him, Rabbi, we know without any doubt that you have come from God as a teacher, for no one can do these things, these wonders, these attesting miracles that you do unless God is with him. Jesus answered him, I assure you, and most solemnly say to you, unless a person is born again or reborn from above, spiritually transformed, renewed, sanctified, he cannot ever see and experience the kingdom of God. Now, I want to make a couple observations as we get going here. First of all, this person that came to him was a Pharisee. Pharisees were considered one of the highest ranking religious officials of Jesus' time. And it says that he came to him at night. He came to Jesus at night. Now, why would he do that? Well, my guess is that he came to him at night because he didn't want anybody to know that he was going to Jesus to ask him questions, because supposedly he was supposed to be the one with all the answers. So, and he comes to him, and Jesus says to him, if you want to participate, if you want to be and experience the kingdom of God, you must be born again. Now, this baffled, as it does many people. He asks the obvious question and says, to him, well, what do you mean by that? He says, how can a man be born when he is old? He can't enter his mother's womb a second time and be born, can he? Jesus answered, I assure you and most solemnly say to you, unless one is born of water and the Spirit, he cannot ever enter the kingdom of God. That which is born of the flesh is flesh, or in other words, is physical and is merely physical. And that which is born of the Spirit is spirit. So don't be surprised when I tell you that you must be born again. So he asked the obvious question that most of us have when we hear that term, you need to be born again. Well, what does that mean? Does that mean, how do you do that? You got to return to your mother's womb and be born again. And Jesus explains it. He says, what that term being born again means is that, first of all, you need to be born of the flesh. In other words, you need to be born naturally, like everybody on this planet. You know, through a woman gets pregnant, and you're born, okay? But Jesus says that you also need to be born spiritually. Well, why is that? Well, here's the thing. We are a three-part being. We the real person on the inside of us is actually spirit. God says we are made in his image and in his likeness, and God is spirit. He is a spirit. So the real person on the inside of us is actually spirit. We we have a body, or we live in a body. We have a soul. Our soul, sometimes people get this confused. Our soul is our mind, our will, our emotions. That is our soul. And then we live inside of this flesh and bone body, and some people call it our earth suit. Okay? So we are three parts. Now, why do we need to be born spiritually? Because we are separated, our spirit is separated from God by our sin. So in other words, our sin, our imperfection, it causes us, it's an obstacle that causes us to be separated from the holy God that created us. But he had a plan. God is our Father. He wants to be connected to us. He wants us to have an intimate connection and relationship with us. But here's this obstacle. So he sent Jesus. He had a plan. He sent Jesus as a representative for us. And Jesus was born naturally, but he represented man in the flesh, and he took upon himself, even though he was perfect, he took upon himself all of our imperfection, carried it to the cross, and when he died, that imperfection, that sin was judged, and Jesus presented his eternal blood as an eternal sacrifice before God the Creator. And that allows us, when we believe in that and trust in that and receive that sacrifice, that removes any obstacle that we have, that and allows us to be reunited with God in our spirit. And that, my friends, is what's called being born again. Until the next time, this is the Issues of Life.